What's going on, everyone? Steven here from Techmaker.tv. This is building a checklist with Ruby on Rails 6 Part 3. This video is part of a series where we're doing a larger project build out. We do quite a bit of those over on our website, www.techmaker.tv. Be sure to check it out over there if you want to see the whole thing from start to finish. Also, if you want to see more content like this, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. So in the last episode, we essentially started working out some CRUD functionality around checklists. So you can create a checklist with a title, and then you kind of have this messed up looking design right now, but you have a checklist item that you can add here, and it will just append down below, and then you can remove them and so on and so forth. So it's pretty basic right now, and we're going to add a bit more functionality to it. But before we do that, I want to spend this episode and just straighten up the design, because right now it's a little bit ugly if you ask me, and I made it, so I think I can say that about it. So we're going to get that straightened up here, and then in the next episode we will probably wrap up the functionality, maybe 1 or 2 episodes. Essentially, I'm going to do what I've done in a couple of the other projects where we have a drop down where you can set the status to be not started would be the default, and then in progress or finished, and then make them drag and drop sortable and so on and so forth. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into the code. Alright, so back over here, I believe we're on the pages show page. So let's take a look down here at what we've got. We've got the page, paragraphs, each, do, image elements, checklist. In another series, I think it's the actual, it might be the project management or the blog. I can't remember. I think it might be the blog. We have different types of content you can add like this, and we did it a little bit differently so they're naturally blended. So we could rework this to do that, but I think I'm actually going to leave this and just try to find another way to blend the content together. So that you can mix and match, because right now if you add checklists they'll automatically always appear below, but in any case we're not here to fix that right now. So what do we want to do? So we have this div text content p4, then we have like a mb2 and so on, then we have this separated div, we have the checklist items all showing up. So I'm wondering if it might actually make sense to try this. So if we put all these in one big div together and gave it a p4 like that, and then bump all of this up into it, and then take away the p4 there and the p4 here, just want to check that that actually still works with my form. Well, it kind of works. I mean, it does work in the sense that it's functional. So we'll save that. But the hover doesn't work now. So that's interesting. Okay, we'll come back to that. What I want to do is take all of these and put those in there as well. So we'll cut that and then just put that right inside of here. Because what I want them to do is all line up and have the same padding. So now they all kind of snap together. We still have to handle this where you can see that a little bit better, but let's go ahead and leave that for now. Okay, so I want to get rid of this big add a new checklist item, and I want to put a placeholder in the actual form field that says something like add a new checklist item. And what I would like to do, if I can, is make this an inline form. Let me see if I can do that here by just saying HTML class inline form maybe. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so we got rid of the label or the headline there, but the thing didn't show up as inline. So we'll deal with that in a second. But I also want to get rid of the label as well. And let's go do a quick search on Bootstrap. I'm always forgetting exactly how to do inline forms in Bootstrap, so we'll go look it up. We'll say Bootstrap inline form, and let's come in here and see. There's several ways to do it if I remember right, and I'm just going to kind of scroll down until I see what I want. let's see here. So we have maybe we can call it like a form row. That's actually what I want to do. Um, well, no, because I don't necessarily want like columns. Um, let's see. That might make the most sense. So the thing with inline forms is sometimes I don't get them to expand all the way across automatically. Let's just try the form row and see what happens. I'm going to take away this HTML class thing that I did because that didn't work and I don't want to leave it there. So if we add a div form row, and let's actually, I don't actually want this class buttons. I don't need that. Let's bump both of these up into the form row and just see what it looks like. Okay. So we might have to actually put them on their own columns. For whatever reason, inline forms is something I've never really paid too much attention to. So that's kind of what I was thinking, is that it's not going to expand all the way across. So let me do a little bit of research really quick, just off camera, and see if I can find this, because I don't want to sit here and make you watch me research this for forever. Okay, so I got this kind of working how I want. So now we can see that there's an input that goes all the way across with an attached save button. I don't love the look of it, but it's closer to what I was imagining. And I grabbed that basically from here, the custom styles, and then you have, I saw this username thing, and it has a input group with an input group prepinned, and I thought, well, you can just change that to append probably, and that worked. So if you want to see the code, and I don't usually just show you the code, I actually type it all out, but I went ahead and did this off camera just to kind of get it wrapped up because I spent a little too much time researching it. So there's no HTML class on the form, that's just left alone, and then you have an input group here, and then which this has a form control class, and then you have this input group append, which is where you put your button. So that's pretty much it, and I think that is, we'll style it with custom styles at some point, but just kind of have to have the default look. I think this is more in the direction that I want it to go. We could change the class color on there because I don't love having that blue button all over the place, so maybe like BTN light, something like that. But we'll think about that. I'll just save that for now, and then we'll see what it looks like. But that's the wrong page. No, that doesn't look great. So we'll just maybe BTN dark. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like that. I think that looks a little bit better. So let's move on to the next thing, which is actually cleaning up this list below. Okay, so if we go over to the code again, what I don't like about this for the moment is that it's actually in a table. And I think what I want to do is put them in what's called a list group in Bootstrap. So what we can do is create an unordered list, and we'll give it a class of list group. And then for each one, and if you've been following along with some of the other episodes, I think this is maybe a good use case for our view components, but we'll leave that for later. So now instead of having this tr with a td, what I'm going to have is an li with a class of list group item. And I'm also going to give it a deflex and a justify content between, I think is what I want. We will find out momentarily. And then instead of having obviously the TD and whatever, I need to just grab this title, and I need to put it in a span tag in order for it to honor the deflex. And then let's do this, let's grab this link to delete here, paste that. And let's go see what this looks like. So this should basically get rid of our table, and it should make it so that these things have just like a border underneath or something to that effect. Okay, so now you can see what we've got here. So if we add another one, So that shows up like that, which looks a little bit better in my opinion. What we can do here is give this an MT3 so it's separated out a little bit. So I think that looks a little bit tighter overall. Now what I want to do, so in the next episode we're going to add progress buttons here, like the drop downs from one of the other episodes that I did. And so I don't want this to actually say delete. I want to make this like an X icon. And if I remember correctly, we've already set up Font Awesome, maybe. Let me just check this out really quick. Oh, that's ugly, but it does look like we have Font Awesome. Okay, so we'll have to deal with that later. So what we can do here is link to and then do. So we'll give it a block. Make sure we put our in tag here. And then we'll say I class equals FAS. I think it's I think it's FAS FA close. No, I think it's FA times. Let's go look and see if I guessed right. Okay, yeah, cool. So, and now it's blue. Maybe we want that to actually be gray. Let's see, what classes do we have available? So I think we could say text secondary, maybe. And that looks pretty good in my opinion. Nice. So I'm gonna do a couple of longer work sessions. Probably they'll just be posted on our website, which will retheme this whole app because right now it's just kind of these very bare bones bootstrap styles. So this will get an update as well, but it won't structurally change. It'll just kind of get like custom styles added to it. So what I want to do finally, or two last things, I want to fix this so that it's got just a little bit of padding so that that actually looks a little bit better. So let's see what happens if we just add like a P1 or something like that. Also, let's make it an H5, and then let's give it a class here of P-1. Let's see what that does. I don't love the margin that came below. Let's see if we do M0. That might have to go on the H5 tag actually. I think that it does. So we'll cut that and then we'll come down here and say class equals and then paste that M0 in here. So that kind of tightens that up a little bit, but we still get a little padding around it so it's not touching the edge. I think that looks pretty good. Let's do P2 just for fun and see what that looks like. I actually like that a little bit better. It's kind of tucked in a little bit more, which is kind of fine. The next thing I want to do really fast is essentially say if there's no checklist title, I want to make it say, you know, click to add a title. So if checklist.title.present do this, else we'll do the same. But what I want to do here is say M0 text muted maybe. And then instead of checklist title, we'll say click to add title. So if I actually just get rid of this, so you have click to add title here. So I think that looks pretty nice actually. So that's about everything I wanted to get done in this episode. I wanted to mention one thing in case you're curious, and if you've been following along with the channel, you probably noticed that we publish a good deal of content on YouTube, but then we also have some other stuff on our website that's not on YouTube in longer series and so on. And I wanted to just mention the philosophy behind that. So anything that we feel like is generally useful for everyone, we try to publish on YouTube. At the moment anyway, that's how we're thinking about it. We have some longer sort of work session type stuff, which is just kind of really application specific, and we will post that typically just in a series over on our website, and it kind of it fills in the gaps between certain things. I think some of this episode is actually getting a little bit into that category, but it's kind of fine because it sort of works as a checklist feature. It's not a perfect system yet, but it's something we're working on doing, is just how to organize our content better. Anyway, with all that said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And again, in the next one, what we're going to be doing is adding the actual checklist functionality. So you'll be able to change the status. We'll add a progress bar potentially to the top or somewhere so you can see at a glance where you're at with your checklist, um, and so on and so forth. So hopefully this has been helpful for you, and I appreciate you watching up to this point, and I will talk to you in the next episode.